56 deaths and 265 injuries are the emotional facts about the fire that tore through the main stand at Valley Parade, home of Bradford City. The game was supposed to be of celebration. Bradford City were going to claim their Division 3 Champions Trophy in that match versus Lincoln City on the final day of the season. The previous years had been horrendous for Bradford City, with the club suffering financially and getting relegated to Division 4. Fortunately, Bradford were slowly on their way back, so emotions were high and many flocked to Valley Parade, the Bantam Stadium, to watch their team lift the trophy, return to Division 2 and enjoy their newfound success. People came from all over Yorkshire, England and even other countries to watch this momentous game. 11,076 people were in attendance, a lot more than the season's average of just 6,000. Furthermore, the game was to be aired on live television, which was a huge deal at the time. Bradford Stadium, Valley Parade, had an extremely outdated main stand. The stand felt to be mainly wood. Wooden seats, wooden support, and a wooden roof. A huge pile of litter, cups, tickets, programs and other waste was dumped in the space below the seats in the stand. The club had always intended to modernise the stand and give it a metal structure, but with the team's recent financial problems, this wasn't really an option. Anyway, fans entered the ground that day, the turnstiles were closed and locked, and the match kicked off with an extremely lively and active atmosphere. On the pitch, a boring game was played, with neither team looking like they were going to score. 40 minutes into the 0-0 game, the TV cameras focused on some fans who noticed a small amount of smoke rising from the gaps under their seats. Unknown to the crowd, these seemingly harmless wisps of smoke would soon spark an uncontrollable blaze. The fans in the area later shared they felt their feet becoming warmer. One person ran around the stand looking for a fire extinguisher, but none were present. A police officer shouted to their colleague for a fire extinguisher, which was misheard, and instead the fire brigade were called at 3:43. The small panic was seen by fans who started chanting, "Bradford's burning, fetch the engines." As the smoke got larger, police sprang into action and attempted to evacuate fans out of the stand through the main doors, which had been locked. But the fire had gained relentless momentum and was rapidly spreading to the wooden seats and roof, which was being fueled by the roof's highly flammable bitumen coat. The burning timber and molten material started to rain down upon the fans, transforming the scene into a nightmare. The thick, suffocating smoke swept its way into the stand's concourse where feared fans had been heading for the locked turnstiles. With nowhere to go, panicked fans rushed downwards to the playing field, despite the large and dangerous gap down. If you listen to radio coverage, there is a stark contrast between panic screams and oblivious cheering, which were both heard. I will not share the chilling audio for your own comfort, as it is very distressing. Footage also shows dozens of supporters reaching the pitch, to which the referee had to call a pause in the match. Some fans celebrated in front of the cameras, unaware of the tragedy that was taking place, just the severity of what was happening. No one really knew how serious this actually was. Amidst the chaos in the main stand, heroism acts emerged. Some players and coaches rushed into the burning stand to aid the evacuation. One of the most disturbing images of the day was of this burning man, who was extinguished by brave fans. The man sadly later died in hospital as a result of the injury suffered, like many of the victims. The fire brigade arrived at 3:47. However, the fire had engulfed the stand by this point, and thick, heavy smoke mixed with scorching flames face the firemen. As many fans were still trapped, the crew were unable to start fighting the fire. As the intense fire continued its relentless assault on the stand, a haunting scene unfolded. Spectators who had perished in the flames were visibly still in their charred seats, with remnants of the roof covering them. It became very obvious that lives had been lost. And if, like many stadiums of the time, the stand had a perimeter fence, the situation would have been a lot worse and ended in a result similar to the Hillsborough disaster. Tragically, 56 lives were lost in the devastating fire, while over 265 fans sustained injuries. As I said earlier, a perimeter fence may have put the death toll into the hundreds, if not thousands. The victims included individuals of all ages, with a significant number under 20 years old and over 70 years old, highlighting the immense human toll of the tragedy. The start of the fire was revealed a few days later. This is what was said in an interview. A man from Australia visiting his son got 2 tickets to the game. He lit a cigarette, and when it was coming to an end, he put it down onto the floorboard and tried to put his foot on it to put it out. It slipped through a hole in the floorboard. A minute later, he saw a smaller plume of smoke, so he poured his coffee on it, and so did his son. It seemed to put it out, but a minute or so later, there was suddenly a bigger whoosh of smoke, so they went to get a steward. By the time they got back, the whole thing had taken off. As a result of the tragedy, immense attention and support was drawn. Condolences were received from Queen Elizabeth, then Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, and Pope John Paul. The Bradford Disaster Appeal Fund was newly established and raised £3.5 million, which were boosted by funds received from a special recording of the hit You'll Never Walk Alone. To honour the memory of those who sadly lost their lives, a memorial service was held on the Valley Parade pitch. A giant cross made from 2 charred wooden beams salvaged from the burnt out stand were erected as a symbol. Valley Parade underwent a huge amount of redevelopment and reopened just over a year later. Fortunately, many stadiums throughout the UK underwent fire safety checks and banned new wooden stands and prohibited smoking in existing wooden stands. Today, Valley Parade, a 25,000-seater stadium, featured 2 memorials to those lost. An inquiry revealed that the club had been repeatedly warned about the fire risk and the accumulation of litter beneath the stand. The stand itself had already been condemned, and demolition teams were scheduled to commence their work just 2 days after the fire broke out. For more dark football stories like this, head over to my creepy football iceberg video. Thank you for watching.